Good evening.
Has Saurabh joined?
Yes, Rupali, I'm there. Hi, Biren.
Okay. Good evening, Saurabh. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening, Saurabh. I think there is some echo happening. I
Saurabh,
don't know
we'll
from your.
start at 8:30. We are waiting for other participants to join in.
Yeah, sure, Rupali.
Yeah, okay.
Am I am I audible clearly?
Yes, Saurabh, you are audible.
Okay.
Kiran, can you hear Saurabh?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, Yeah, good evening, everyone. I welcome you for this webinar, but we'll wait for 2 more minutes and no, because participants are still joining, and then we'll proceed with our session. Thank you.
Good evening, all. So, meanwhile, I'll take this opportunity to mention that the registrations for PMI South Asia conference is open now, and one can register on the website. As of now, we are there's a 2-day conference, and we are going to have eminent speakers attending it. The conference is in Nehru Center, Worli, and we are expecting around 900 delegates to be joining the conference. It is going to be a wonderful opportunity to network with professionals from the industry, and across the cities. Uh, Total 11 chapters are going to participate in that from 11 cities, including Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. So, do register and take advantage of the offer. After a month or so, price will go up. Okay, so I think we can start. Rupali.
Okay, once again, good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, Rupali, you're audible.
Okay, fine, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. PMI Mumbai chapter PITSTOP team welcome you all for today's webinar. Before I introduce you to speaker, there are few announcements to make. Okay, can everyone go on mute, please? Thank you. So, post our webinar, a feedback link would be shared on the chat window. And I request you all to please fill it up and submit it because it helps us to align, expectations to our sessions. And following the session and feedback link, the PDU code would be displayed. You can avail one PDU in the technical category. So, continuing with our session, so today's session, as you all know, is on how to plan and execute process automation projects. And our speaker for today is Mr. Saurabh Soni. Saurabh is working in EY as senior manager, and he is based in EY Gurgaon office. He has 14 plus years of versatile experience in solution design, feasibility studies and assessments, optimizing and architecting the solution processes and program project management of deliveries based on intelligent automation solutions across domains such as telecommunications, banking, manufacturing, insurance, retail, and life sciences. He holds a MBA. He holds an MBA PGPM in business leadership and BE in computer science and engineering. He is a certified project management professional from PMI USA and also holds a certificate in management consulting from CDC Ministry of Science and Technology, India. So please join me welcoming Saurabh. And Saurabh, thank you for accepting our invite. We look forward for your session. I'll unshare this and the
Sure. Thank you, Rupali. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session today. And I'll just present my screen.
okay, let me unshare it. Stop sharing. Yes, please. Yes, Saurabh, all yours.
Yes. Is my screen visible? Just wanted to check.
Yes, Saurabh,
Yes.
it's visible.
Okay. So let's start. And as Rupali mentioned, that today's topic of discussion is how we can actually do project management while doing automation, right? And there are some specific niche concepts, topics we will take up today, right? Just to start with, uh, I'll just cover the agenda for today. There will be a very specific topic which we'll be discussing regarding process automation. So, during the initial time, we will discuss the concept that what is process automation, what is RPA, and what is intelligent automation, just so that we know that if we want to deliver projects related to it, what is the concept and how we will need to go about it. And then once we understand the concept, then we will move forward and talk about the specifics into how we can utilize automation as one of the tool as part of the project management cycle which we have as project managers, right? And then in the end we will discuss that in case we are doing or delivering the automations, right, that what kind of project management methodology we will be following. So this is what we'll be covering today. And feel free to ask any question, any clarification if you required on any specific topic. So, anyways, Rupali has introduced me professionally what I do as part of my day-to-day job. But anyways, to introduce a bit more about myself, I am a father of a cute daughter, and now I call myself as house husband of a working wife for most of the days. And I love to travel, trek, go on biking, and most of my weekends I spend playing cricket, and I'm a medium fast bowler for my club. Now, coming specifically on the topic, and I'll just introduce you to the concept of what is robotic process automation, or just to say that what do we mean by process automation. Before coming to it, there are some key facts, the mega trends which we can see where this is going. So 30 to 40% of the existing business processes service are likely to be impacted by process automation, right? And once we do it, we will see that there will be a cost reduction of 35% to 65% for most of the onshore operations which are happening. And then 30 to 10 to 30% of the offshore operations will also get impacted. By knowing this, RPI is estimated to lead 30 to 35% reduction in entry level roles, and that will actually result in increase in the mid level roles. I will explain that how it will happen and how the process automation is changing the complete landscape of the industry. And the important fact here is that if we look at the enterprise, right, almost 85% of the typical firms, 900 processes can be automated. Now, if we see the first number, which is if we go and attempt to do an automation, these many processes can be automated, but typically 30 to 40% of the existing processes gets automated eventually. Now, while looking at all these numbers, we will get to know that in future, especially our children or younger generation will have robots as their colleagues, because now we are talking about the workforce which is human, and then there will be a workforce which we call as digital workers, right? So digital workers and human workers will then pick up the work and work very closely along with each other, shoulder to shoulder, right? But then, what do we mean by robotics, right? That is the question which actually raise a curiosity amongst ourselves. Are we talking about these robots? Because these are the popular robots which we know, right? The assembly lines of the car manufacturing, or the physical robots, what we see on TV helping our day-to-day course, right? Alice in Wonderland all knows, right? But at the same time, we are talking about these robots, which we are covering today. These are the robots which are actually the software robots which are there in our system. So any work which we are performing in our system, any work which has a rule-based step, the work which we can do within a computer system, which we can write on a piece of code, can all be automated, right? So we will understand that how this will happen with an example. Now, typically, what we have seen is that the digital revolution was also already happening, right, with the social, mobile, and the kind of disruption which we were looking at in terms of the enterprise automation. And then suddenly, 2020, we all know pandemic strikes. What happened after that was that there is a very huge surge in digital transformation, because we all saw that during the pandemic, what happened? The processes were not resilient. There was a lot of manual dependency. This all came and got highlighted, right? Then everybody start rushing towards how we can digitize our processes, how we can make the processes more resilient, how we can actually go for more automation. And then we have seen that there has been an evolution of robotic process automation into intelligent automation while going through a complete digital transformation of the complete landscape. While the people becomes core to the taking the center stage, and then the overall activities can be automated, right? So now what is RPA? As I was explaining, a typical bookish definition of RPA is a computer software that runs repetitive rule-based processes. And this software is trained based on functional specification and can be adjusted at any time. So this is a very bookish definition of RPA, but just to take an example, in our day-to-day life, when we actually work, we need to create a lot of reports or presentations. For example, if in our day-to-day work, we need to create daily presentations, right? And we know that for creating a presentation, and typically for a daily presentation, the work will be very redundant. There will be a fixed template in which we will need to create a presentation and circulate it, right? And then the source of the presentation, the data which is required, is there somewhere in some websites or in an Excel sheet, right? From where we are picking up the data. Now, what this robotic process automation is, and as I explained previously also, that the presentation is again on the system, the Excel sheets, the data is available on the system, and websites are also on the system. So these robots can actually go on the website on a daily basis, on a fixed schedule. These robots can go into the Excel sheet, pick up the data, extract the data from where it is required, right? And then that extracted data can be put in a fixed format, in a fixed template at a fixed position in the PowerPoint presentation. Every day, whenever we required, on demand, on scheduled basis, but it can keep on doing this work repetitively, multiple times without failing and with complete accuracy because all the steps which are getting automated here. For example, getting into the website, get opening the Excel sheet, getting in a particular field, copy the data, right? And then opening the PowerPoint presentation, putting the data in the PowerPoint presentation in a fixed template. This is all rule based, right? There is a rule behind each and every step. So there is no question of creating any error if we have tested our programs or rules thoroughly, right? So by this example, we can understand how a very typical manual process can be automated, which is there on the system, which is rule based and repeatable, right? But when we are saying this, we are saying that this is not a human robot. This human robot or the robot will not be sitting beside us. It will be a piece of software that will be installed within our computer. It will not be able to perform any human judgment or analysis which is required, or the processes where an ambiguity is there, right? But it will be able to assist the humans in the day-to-day work, or if the work is completely role-based, then the human being is not required to do that particular work, but the manual laborious work can be performed by robots, and human can actually do more work which is more judgment based or requires a lot of analysis, right? So I hope this clears what is robotic process automation or just process automation. Now, typically, what we have seen is that how robotic process automation is evolving these days. I'll not go into detail on this particular slide, but as you can see, robotic process automation is just a component of overall intelligent automation suite. There are many different cutting edge, new emerging technologies which are becoming part of the overall end-to-end solution. How we can digitize the complete end-to-end processes, right? And RPA is becoming one part of it, and there are many different technologies like intelligent OCR. We are dealing with a lot of chatbots on a day-to-day basis on food ordering apps, on e-commerce apps, right? So all this is becoming part of intelligent automation. But why is it important? Why we are doing it and how it is driving the value for the business, right? The important part is that it creates value for all involved, right? It creates the value for all the stakeholders which are there, right? In terms of productivity, better service quality, giving us the more efficient operating model, right? It creates the value for our customers, especially helping us increasing the net promoter scores, customer satisfaction, and also at the same time, when I'm saying customers, we are also dealing with a lot of suppliers on a day-to-day basis, a lot of vendors, right? So all the work which we can do for customers can also be done for our vendors, right? And then very important piece here is how it is helping us in increasing the employee value, right? And also very important aspect here is that especially post pandemic, that it is helping on a practical basis in increasing the work life balance of the people, right? So as I was explaining, RPA has multiple use cases. The example I took, it can take over the repetitive task which we carry out. For example, the example I took of creating the presentations. Again, the periodic or on-demand reporting which we need to do, the data analysis which we need to do, and especially if we, for example, the same example where we were actually creating the PowerPoint presentations, it can send those PowerPoint presentations in the end to any number of participants, the participants which require that presentation on a day-to-day basis, right? So it can do the mass email generation, archiving, extraction. Then also, as I was explaining, it can do the conversion of data formats, put graphics, picking up the graphics. So that shifting, loading of data, it can again do. The important part here is, and practically we have seen most of the places where process automation is being utilized is getting the data from sources and doing the data entry while navigating multiple screens in our ERP systems for doing the processing of jobs, right? So especially logging into the SAP systems, getting onto a particular T codes, right, and filling up the forms, and then probably submitting the forms, going for approval. So all these things can be automated, right? And in the end, the complete process list and file storages can be managed by robotic process automation, right? So while understanding what robotic process automation and what the concept is and how it is evolving, what are the mega trends, before moving forward, just I want to understand if there is any question on a particular concept or a topic before I move forward. Okay, so I believe that it is all making sense. And by robotic process automation, there are two major topics which get open up, right? So can we do automation for project management, or if we can utilize project management for automation, right? The answer is both. The automation for project management is a very relevant topic, and what kind of project management approach or methodologies we can take while delivering automations. So we will cover both of these topics one by one today, and we will see some of the examples, how practically on the ground we are covering both the aspects of this, right? So the first point is the automation for project management, right? So as project managers, we keep on delivering lot of projects across versatile areas, many industries, many type of projects which we need to undertake on a day-to-day basis, right? But as part of the complete overall methodology or approach, there are many manual things which we need to do, and those manual things can be automated. So automation or process automation becomes a very powerful tool in the overall suitcase or a toolbox of a project manager, right? Because there are a lot of tracking which we need to do on a day-to-day basis, lot of reports which needs to get generated, right? Lot of communication which needs to happen on a day-to-day basis, right? So these all manual laborious jobs can be automated, which are very repetitive, which requires no brain at all, are very rule based, but requires a lot of time of project manager or a project management team. So why not have a robot to do all this work and project management team focusing on the actual work, which requires a human brain, a human judgment to perform. So there are some of examples which I can take, which a typical project management team or project manager can use to automate. Again, it depends upon the case which is there. Some of the examples might be relevant for you. Some of the examples might be using some other tools like BPM processes, workflows to have already some bit of automation into these. But just so that we know that, especially initiation and planning, there are a lot of artifacts, lot of reports, lot of supporting documents which needs to be there, right? So robotic process automation or process automation can actually collate all the data which is there. There is a lot of stakeholder communication which needs to be performed. So RPA bots can actually do that communication, can assist you in doing that communication, doing the mass emails, what kind of formats, templates need to be sent out, regular updates. So all those can be taken care, right? And then there are many process improvement initiations need to be there. Very complex part as part of the overall project management approach we need to go through is team onboarding, right? So again, team onboarding on a case-to-case basis in an enterprise is a very complex process. Lot of IDs, lot of data need to be there for the new joiners, right? There is a complete induction program. There are accesses to be provided. So all these things can be taken care by the bot because these are all rule-based but are very laborious to perform. Then there is a data-driven progress management, which we need to do on a regular basis. There is a risk management in which we can utilize the bots. I already explained the real-time reporting, dashboarding, bots can do very easily, right? And the regular updates and updating of documentation, all these things can be taken care by the bot. But why project managers need to do all this, right? It helps in increasing productivity. It can easily scale to your needs. If we have created a bot for a particular work, and if we see volume getting increased, especially during the budgeting exercise, especially during the financial year end or a start, there is a huge increase in volume. We just need more licenses to run the same job in parallel, right? It lowers the operation cost. It ensures transparency, right? Because a bot is doing a lot of trackers, lot of dashboarding can be available real time for everybody to see. Again, depending upon we need to see who can access all those reports, right? And then in the end, it will remove the human error. As I explained that. All these steps which will be coded will be rule based, and if there is a rule there is no chance of human error. It should be 100% accurate. It will help us in doing the task prioritization again basis the rules. It will help in improving the resource capability planning. The project planning can become more consistent, and in the end it will help us in improving the time spent in overall project which we are doing, right? Now, what I will do, I'll take a practical example wherein for a large oil and gas client, we automated one of the activity for their overall project management work which they are doing, and this is for their finance team. So this finance teams actually needs to create the WBS in their ERP system or to actually do a budget appropriation in the system. So what they did was that they actually came up and asked for help in automating this WBS creation or budget allocation process in SAP. Again, it's a very simple, straightforward process, but it requires time from somebody from a PMO office to do it, right? In SAP in ERP system. So, and it requires no analysis, no human judgment. It can be easily automated. So why not have a bot for doing this activity? So all the details can be provided in the Excel sheet. And once the data is there in the Excel sheet, then there is no need for any manual work. We can focus on the work where we require our judgment and leave it for rest of the work to be performed by the bot. So bot can actually do the complete identification of the request type. This is the data which is there in the Excel sheet. If the request type is for WBS creation or for budget allocation or for simple WBS lock or unlock, right? Now, basis the identification, bot can go into SAP. It can go to the particular T code for WBS creation by filling up the form, putting in the details regarding the cost centers, the project details. All the details can be filled up, and WBS can be created, right? And it can be released and saved. Now the request can also be for budget allocation. So again, it can go inside the ERP systems. It can identify the appropriate elements and allocate the budget as per the business logic which is there. And if there is a third type of request, which is lock or unlock, it will again do the same as instructed and as coded as per the program. Right. So while doing this, we will have the automated process end to end. What we also saw was that it significantly reduced the lead time for WBS, for creation of WBS. Earlier, when the process used to be manual, there was a lot of wait time for somebody to actually go into SAP ERP system to do it, right? But since the bot is there, bot can pick up the data from Excel and create it within a single day, right? So the TAT got reduced very drastically. And the automated process was easily able to scale up and to handle the peak load volume, especially during the financial year beginning. And in the end, once the work is done, a automated email can be circulated to the project owners that the work is completed and they can carry on with the other activities. And the important part here is while doing all these things, the possibility of manual errors was eliminated. Right. So this is how we can use automation as an important tool out of our complete toolkit as project managers to carry out our work. Any question before we move forward to other topic?
Yeah, Saurabh, there is one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, how to automate the data part of projects? One has updated manually. One has to update manually.
Okay. So to answer this, data is a very complex topic for some of the projects, right? So what we need to see is that where the data is, right, and where the data is housed. The important part for process automation is that we need to deal with structured data, the data which can be rule based or which can be coded into the programs. But what we have typically seen nowadays that there is a lot of data which is available, right, which is also in unstructured format, and that data needs a lot of sanitization before we can make sense out of it. So and create an information out of data, right? So we will need to see that if the data is readily available for automation, or if the data requires sanitization before being used by the bots for doing further processing. I hope I understood question correctly and was able to answer that.
Yes, Saurabh.
So okay, so let me move forward with the other topic, which I was saying that how the project management methodology or an approach can be utilized for delivering automations, right? So, although we understand that automation can be an important tool for project managers, but somebody has to deliver these automations. And while delivering these automations, we will need to follow a very rule-based methodology or approach, I would say, to deliver these automations. Otherwise, there can be a chaos, and we can get a product which is not as per the expectation, right? So here, while discussing this topic, I'll start with a case, and this is a very, I would say, very typical case in an enterprise or especially for the finance function, which is invoice processing, right? It is typically a very laborious work, has a huge volume for the enterprises, requires a lot of manpower, requires a lot of effort and time from the team to do it on a day-to-day basis, right? Because we are dealing with a lot of suppliers, lot of vendors, and there are many invoices which keeps on coming. Although I have tried to simplify the process end to end, it's sometimes it's fairly a complex process also, right? But for our discussion today, I've tried to simplify it, and I'll explain that what kind of automation we can do, and we will keep this example to discuss the subsequent slide of while discussing how we can deliver such automations, right? So again, the challenge was that a lot of invoices were coming from various vendors, and the format of invoices can be in Microsoft Word document, the PDF documents, right, email attachments. So what we were trying to say here is that the data for these invoices is unstructured, right? So the one very important prerequisite of doing robotic process automation or process automation is to have the structured data. But here the important part here is that the client was receiving the data or the invoices in unstructured format. So we will see that how we can convert that and can do the automation end to end. So the approach here is, which we followed here, is that vendors used to upload these invoices in multiple formats in the workflow tool. Okay. From there on, what we can do here is that the bot can download the invoices from the workflow tool. Again, it's a very simple activity, and now we understand that can be automated because we can write a rule that from where in the workflow we can go click which button and download all the invoices which are there in a queue for a particular time period. So this can be automated. But one important thing which I mentioned here was that this is all unstructured invoices. The formats of each and every invoices will vary basis supplier, basis vendor, basis the type of invoice which is there, right? So this cannot be fed to process automation or RPA bots to do further processing. There should be some other tool which is required, the intervention of the intelligent OCR tool, which is required to do the extraction from the unstructured format and then to keep it into the structured format. Now, this intelligent OCR tool is again, as robotic process automation is again a different technology out of the complete intelligent automation suite, right? So it requires machine learning models to be trained through reinforced learning, and it requires some time period, its own learning time period to get to certain level of accuracy. And once it reaches a certain level of accuracy, we can start using it in financial transaction where till the time results are above certain threshold. Okay. So if intelligent OCR is there, it can extract the data from the invoices and keep the data into the Excel sheet. Again, above a certain level of accuracy or a threshold which we have defined. Now, the prerequisite for RPA bots to take over is there, is complete. Now the data is available in the structured format in an Excel sheet, for an example. From there on, RPA bots picks up the data, starts the data entry in the ERP system. Again, it can log into the ERP system, it can navigate to various T codes to do the processing. Now, basis the rules which we have mentioned, it can do the parking of invoices or the posting of invoices because there will be certain steps which the bot will not be able to do for all of the for most of the invoices or all of the invoices or some of the invoices, right? Basis the nature of invoices getting received on the day-to-day basis, right? So there will be obviously an exception queue which will get created, and those exceptions can then be sent to the human beings through an email that those can be performed manually, right? So this is the overall process how we have seen that the complete process can be automated right from the start using the two different technologies such as robotic process automation and intelligent OCR, right? Obviously, when we go practically on the ground, we will see a lot of complexities like three-way match, how we can do that, right? I am not going into those details, but simply the straight through cases can be automated like this. Now, again, as I mentioned, it can be a very voluminous process. It requires a lot of time and to do this, and there can be a backlog of many invoices. So if we automate such process, that backlog can be eliminated, right? We can give timely payments to our suppliers. We can avoid the overpayment or duplicate payment. We can maintain the compliance and we can reduce the audit errors. And while keeping in mind that the control of the overall process is not changed, right? Typically, we have seen that we can achieve the productivity benefits to the tune to of 20 to 25%. The cost of processing per invoice gets reduced a lot, right? And there will obviously be a reduction in manual effort. And then while doing all this, we will be able to achieve the increase in vendor or supplier satisfaction. Right. So this is how the complete invoice processing problem is getting solved for most of the cases which are there, right? So now if we understand this case, we will now go into detail that how such kind of automation can be delivered by following a project management methodology. So we all know that there are knowledge areas which are there as part of the project management approach or methodologies which are there, which you can see on the right side of screen. I don't need to recall that or explain you all these knowledge areas which are there, right? But as an example, if we need to start delivering these automations, we will need to consider the aspects from all of these knowledge areas, right? Starting from which steps or activities to automate. Like I explained that all the activities, all the steps we needed to automate as part of delivering the invoice processing automation, right? How much time it will require to go live? Because we were implementing two different technologies which will be working in tandem, shoulder to shoulder to each other. So how much time it will require, right? What will be the cost of implementation? What will be the expectation from to be solution? Are we not changing any controls? Are we adhering to all the controls? Uh, uh, is the because it's a financial transaction, right? It should be meeting the expectation of the team which was doing or owners of the process who were handling or controlling the process. Then we will also need to see that who will do what, because there will be lot of stakeholders, developers, the technical teams, functional teams, SMEs, business, many different stakeholders will be there who will be performing lot of different activities, right? So we will need to clearly define the responsibilities, accountabilities, who to consult, whom to keep informed. All these things we will need to take care of. Then there will be a proper communication model which should be in place. And very important part here is that how we are defining the risk and what will be the mitigation approach. What will happen that in case we are not able to achieve a certain level of accuracy out of intelligent OCR system? What will happen if in case there is not ample amount of data available for the training of machine learning model of intelligent OCR system, right? What will happen if there are certain steps within the ERP system that are not feasible or are ambiguous? And then what will be the mitigation approach so that the business continuity remains, right? So we will need to take care of those aspects also. Then we will need to take care of all the suppliers and partners. There are different partners or suppliers which are there in the picture. There will be the service implementation partners, there will be the platform partners, and then there will be the infrastructure partners such as Microsoft, such as Amazon, for Azure, AWS to host the platforms which are there. Just to name a few, like UiPath, Automation Anywhere, or Blue Prism, so to say, right? So these all will be the different type of partners or suppliers which will be there, and they will require their own management for the overall process. And then how we will be taking care or managing the stakeholders across the organization, right? And then we will see as part of the complete integration management how we integrate everything or all the consideration while going into the project of delivering the automations, right? So this is how these are some of the considerations we will need to take care of the from the knowledge area. I think there is a question. I cannot see the question, Rupali, if you can.
Yeah, I can rephrase the question. Rupali, did you take the quality of application development question?
No, Saurabh, I didn't
No.
take that.
So the first question, Saurabh, is from Shobit Sinha, who says, sometimes I feel that quality of application development stops improving with RPA. I have seen people turning over to RPA even though the automation can be done in the application itself. So this is more around comparison of in-application automation versus RPA. What are your views?
Yes, very important question. What we have typically experienced, and this is my experience, if there is certain activity or a certain step which can be automated within an application, right? This is my experience, that should be the priority number one, right? Because anything which can be automated or can be, I would say, standardized or can be improved within application itself, that should be the step number one, because you already own the application, you already have the things into perspective, right? But sometimes where we require robotic process automation on top of application automation is the cost of change is very huge, right? Or effort of making that change within the application itself. For example, if we are going ahead and need to do any change in SAP system, it requires a complete change management approach, which is very costly and time taking, right? So for those kind of scenarios, this robotic process automation can rapidly give us results. For the time being, if there are some roadmaps which are available for application system changes, for the time being, we can utilize robotic process automation. Again, we will obviously need to see what is the business case for doing that, right? But application automation should always be priority number one for a positive business case.
Does that answer your question, Shobit? Um, yeah, there's also a second question from Vinay Patel. He's asking what are the technical side involves along with functional part. So basically, what are the technical and functional requirements to look at oneself as a RPA PM cautiously? That is, does he needs to know bot agent server DB? In nutshell, what is the difference between a technical PM and a normal PM?
Okay. Again, a very valid question here. The important part is, and this is the question which we as project managers of delivering automation keep on dealing on a day-to-day basis. The important part here is that for delivering any bot, it's a techno-functional skill set which needs to be there. We will be dealing with many technical people on the day-to-day basis, but as we are saying, we are actually automating processes. These are business processes. These are processes which require a certain level of domain knowledge and industry knowledge, right? The example which I was taking for invoice processing, uh, as project manager, I need to be aware that what kind of business I am dealing with, what kind of processes am I automating, and what are some of the details of the processing. I may not know the complete nitty-gritties of the business area. I cannot be an expert of everything because there are many domains, many areas which needs to be automated, for which the consultation should be available for me, right? And at the same time, there will be a complete technical team with which we will be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. There will be a team of infrastructure, there will be a team of IT, there will be a team of developers, right? So all these people, again, I cannot be an expert in all of the area, right? But I should be aware of the topic. I should be aware that what kind of knowledge I need to have to actually manage these kind of automation deliveries. And if we can go deeper into detail, right? For example, UiPath as a tool, if I just take an example, right? A lot of training material is available for project managers also to make them technically aware about the tool and what kind of consideration should be there for the project managers. I
Uh,
hope I
yeah.
answered the question.
Vinay, please feel free if you need any more clarifications, right? Thanks, Saurabh. I think these are the two questions we can proceed further.
Sure. So, basis these considerations, typically on the ground, what we have done is we have created the approach, which is the foundation of this approach is the complete project management methodology which we have, right? What we have done is that the project management office becomes the core part of the overall delivery of automations, right? As you can see, the first pillar, which is project management office, which performs all the project management related activities. Then there is a stream two, which takes care of the complete operating model. What will be the design principle? What will be the governance model? Right? What will be the roles and responsibilities? Again, this can be controlled, consulted by a project management office. Then there will be a complete stream three of actual roadmap and implementation, where we will be doing the implementation of the bots, delivering the bots, identifying, mining the bots, right? So this is all which we will be able to do in stream number three. And then there will be a separate stream which we have created, which is very specifically talking about the risk and change management, that how the complete process can become can take us to the self-sufficiency, right? So on the ground, practically while delivering these bots, we have created these four streams. The foundation of these streams is the complete project management methodology which we follow, that we will see in subsequent slide, right? So we all know that these are the major stages which we need to follow as part of the overall methodology, right? Which is initiating, planning, execution, monitoring, and controlling, and then closing, right? For delivering the automation, we need to fine tune this approach a bit, because there will be a certain level of iteration which will be required, right? Because there might be some requirements which may get changed during the process while understanding the expectation, right? So there will be a certain level of iteration which will be there. But while looking at the iteration, and we all know that there is always an equilibrium triangle as part of our overall project management approach, right? Which revolves around cost, time, and scope while maintaining the quality, right? So we always need to take care of this equilibrium triangle, right? The equilibrium of the triangle should not be broken, right? Or should be minimized whenever there is an iteration, right? So this is a very important consideration in case there is an iteration, and especially if we need to go back to our planning phase while we were doing the execution phase, right? So this is how we will need to tweak or fine tune the overall approach for the delivery of automations. Now, as we can see that these are some of the stages which are there, and obviously we perform a lot of many different activities while taking care of these important stages. What we know them as the project management process groups also, right? So, for example, for initiating phase, we will see that we will need to create a project charter to start with. And again, the information can be coming from what are my identified process list, what will be my business case, what kind of requirements are there, what kind of agreements and SOWs I have signed. And then typically, what are my stakeholders, who are my stakeholders, and what will be the roles and responsibilities. A proper RACI metrics need to be defined, and then subsequently we will go ahead with the kickoff meeting. Now, then there will be a next stage after the kickoff meeting, which will be the development of complete project management plan. And all the activities or considerations which I explained in my example, where I was explaining the knowledge areas of the complete cycle, right? So all those considerations will become part of the overall project management plan, right? From the scope management, the schedule management, cost management, how we are doing the resource management, communication management, risk management, which I explained, and then in the end, procurement management for implementation partners, platform partners, infra partners, and how do we do the stakeholder engagement. So this all goes into the project management plan, right? And then the complete execution starts. And one very important point is that the monitoring and controlling part becomes the overall overlapping part of the overall process, right? So while doing the execution, typically we can then see that what kind of stages we can follow. Some teams actually during the execution go into a very agile mode of delivery, right? Some teams pick up the very simplistic mode of delivery, which is a waterfall model, which you can see, which is mentioned in the execution phase of typically doing the requirement gathering, solution design, and then doing the development, feature acceptance testing, then performing the user acceptance testing to go live, and then doing some bit of monitored go live and hypercare. So this is all becomes part of the overall execution stage, which is there. And again, during the execution, we will need to see that we have proper monitoring and control in place, especially for the resources. We will need to see that if we are efficiently managing and monitoring the communication and the risk register or the risk and mitigation steps which we have created, those should become part of our day-to-day work, right? If there is a risk which is there, we already have a mitigation plan, and that should become or come into action whenever there is an encounter, right? And then how we are conducting and controlling the procurements during the overall cycle, right? There will be lot of touch points during the execution part where we will need to talk to the procurements and then the suppliers, right? And then the stakeholder engagement and uh, control of scope is core to what we do in execution, right? And then if we drill down into the further detail of how we do the execution, I'll just take an example of the waterfall model, which we typically follow. There is, as I mentioned, there are certain different models which are followed by different teams, which can go in a very agile mode of delivery. But in a waterfall model, it starts with requirement gathering and solution design, where a lot of different documents need to be created, like solution design document, process design document. Then there will be a sign off, right? Basis the sign off, then the development gets started, in which the bot design and development happens. Then there is a technical testing which happens. We also perform the system integration testing in the same stage. Then there is a detailed exception analysis which we need to do along with the feature acceptance testing, which becomes a regular part of the process. And then this feature acceptance testing then will actually give trigger to the iterations, which I explained in the previous slide. And the reporting and dashboarding becomes the subsequent output sometime of the bots which we deliver. Right. So once the bots are delivered, then it goes into the user acceptance testing. Again, a typical flow which we follow. And this is not very specific to how we deliver automations. These are most of the software projects which we do, right? Basis which there will be a bug fixing, and then specifically once the bugs are fixed and we achieve a certain level of satisfaction, we can actually put the bots in production. While following again, there will be a lot of checklists in another level of detail which we need to follow. And then we will actually need to go into a stage which we call as hypercare, which is very important phase of bot delivery, in which we need to do a monitored go live of bots. So we cannot keep the bots unattended during the initial time period of delivery or when the bots are in production, because these bots will be working without any human intervention. If there is a step which is going wrong, it can actually make the changes in the system, which either require a lot of effort to roll back or will not be able to roll back. Okay. So that is why initial typically 1 or 2 week of monitored go live happens, in which the technical team along with the business users monitor the output of the bot, right? And there will be proper breaks in the program before committing any changes into the system, right? So this is how typically the execution of uh, the delivery of bots happen, right? So this is all what I wanted to show today. I am open for any question, or if there are questions in the chat box, Sushil, Rupali.
Yeah, there's one question, Saurabh, from Praveen Kajarikar. Getting into ease of doing business, can we integrate these robots to create a global blockchain function?
So to answer this, when I was actually showing the complete landscape of intelligent automation, right? As a next step of intelligent automation, we are going towards the hyper automation of the activities, right? And blockchain actually becomes a part of the complete suite of how we are solving the problems end to end of the overall ecosystem. Because if we are talking about blockchain, we are talking about ecosystem, right? So robotic process automation or process automation is a very different kind of technology which we are talking it about, right? But if we are bringing blockchain, we will eliminate the need of robotic process automation because the end-to-end transaction is already automated and already very transparent for everybody to see, right? I would say it is a complementary technology or an alternative technology which will eliminate the need of the robotic process automation, the bots, which I was talking very specifically.
Yeah. There's a second question from Vinay Patil. RPA falls under agile or waterfall?
Again, as I mentioned, it depends upon case to case basis, basis the need, basis the requirement. Some teams follow the agile methodology, some teams follow the waterfall methodology, and some teams will like to take good of both the areas, right, and create their own hybrid methodology, right, in which they create the sprints and within the sprints they follow a waterfall, a minor sub waterfall methodology to go ahead with.
Great. Any other questions, guys? Please typing in the chat. Uh, uh, I don't see any other questions, Saurabh, unless someone asks. Thank you so much, Saurabh. Over to you,
Thank you,
Rupali.
Sushil. Thank you,
Uh,
everyone.
there is one more question. Last question
Yeah,
we will take again from Vinay. Uh, RPA production. How do you manage?
yes. So RPA production actually starts when we end our project. And specifically for RPA, there is a very important consideration need to be given for run and maintain part, right? Because we cannot leave the production bots unattended. When I say unattended, I am not talking about day-to-day monitoring of the bots, right? But there will be changes. There will be changes to the applications on these bots which are performing the transactions, right? There will be changes to the systems, right? And the shelf life, to increase the shelf life of the bot, there will be the change requests which are there, which needs to be implemented and which needs to be fine-tuned and need to be configured to keep the bot alive, I would say. Right. So run and maintain part is very important.
Yeah. Now we have some more questions, Saurabh. Probably we
Yeah.
can just take all these questions. The next question is RPA is usually deployed on pre-prod before go live.
Yes, and typically we say that stage is the we typically do it in user acceptance testing, right? So again, the for most of the people, what happens here is generally they use a development environment and then production environment. Sometimes they call as a first development environment, then there is a pre-prod environment, and then there is a production environment, right? But most of the cases where we have seen challenges that availability of data in all the environment, the data sometimes in pre-prod or development environment is not synced up, right? And we do not find the production data. So if the data is available, then basis our requirement, we can use pre-prod before putting the bots into production, right? And to validate if the bots will be running as per the expectation, like they are expected to run in production environment.
Yeah. The other question is from Mukesh Durgani. How important is it for a project management professional from business background to know technically of the RPA tools?
I would say it is important to be aware of what is happening technically, but it is not important to become an expert, right?
Hmm.
So why I'm saying this, because there will be lot of many technical resources with whom you will be working with, right? You cannot avoid that. There will be lot of technical jargons which you will be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. There are a lot of technical concepts which will need to take care of on a day-to-day basis. right? And then you will also need to know while creating a complete project plan and then executing that plan, that what kind of consultation should I require in each and every stage uh, while doing the execution, right? So I would say not important to be an expert, but important to be aware of the technical things.
Yeah. One more question is any recommendations on tools or software for OCR?
Uh, I cannot give any recommendation. There are many tools which are available. All of the important popular RPA products like Blue Prism, UiPath, Automation Anywhere have their own OCRs in place, and there are also standalone OCRs in market which can be explored. Again, it should satisfy a positive business case and should be compatible with the environment and the organization we are talking about.
Yeah, one more from Sudip Chatterjee. Google Lens can be used as OCR.
Google Lens is a technology which we can utilize for computer vision, right? For me personally, I see computer vision and OCR as two different technologies to solve two different problems. When I say intelligent OCR, I am typically talking about the text part of it, right? But Google Lens can do multiple other things as well.
Great. Any other questions, anybody, before we break the session? Please hang on. As you can see, you need to fill the feedback form. But if there are no more questions, Rupali, over to you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah.
yeah, Drupali, just I'll take 1 minute. Yeah, so I have thanks Saurabh for the wonderful session. I think it was very helpful, quite insightful, and thank you for answering all the questions.
Thank you, Biren. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah,
everyone.
yeah. An announcement to all the Mumbai chapter members that we are having a town hall on coming Sunday, that is 18 September, for new members. So not only new members but all members, Mumbai chapter members are invited for that. And we'll first have a town hall at 11 a.m. and then it will be followed by AGM, and after that there will be a lunch. So it is free for all Mumbai chapter members. You need to just walk in at 11 a.m. Okay. So looking forward to see you all chapter members at the time at the place given over here, Caravanserai. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Rupali.
you, Saurabh. Yeah. Thank you, Saurabh. Very informative session, and we can make that out from the questions we have in chat. Yeah. Sorry, 1 minute. Saurabh, as a token for appreciation, no, I would for token from appreciation. 1 minute. Let me open that token. Can you see my slide?
No, Rupali.
1 minute.
I don't know if I can hear Rupali properly, but Saurabh, as a token of appreciation, we would like to extend this a small memento from PMI Mumbai chapter, PMI PITSTOP Mumbai chapter. Right. Thank you so much for spending time with this group and sharing your insights on automation projects. As we can see, there were a lot of excitement and insights which were shared, and a lot of questions also being shared. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sushil, Rupali, Biren, everyone on the call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Sorry,
you.
Rupali. Can you speak now? I can hear you.
Yeah. I'll be sharing the
Sorry.
PDU code. Can you hear me?
Yeah. It's better now.
Okay, okay. Yeah, PDU code. Yes. And you can avail one PDU in technical category.
So the PDU code is shared in the chat box, guys. Please do fill the feedback survey. Please let us know what all sessions you'd like to, uh, you know, hear or see in the next sessions, which will help us arrange for these sessions. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Saurabh, once again.
Thank you.
Thank you all and good night very much.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
everyone for joining.